So you've booked your IVF trip abroad, you've got your ticket, you've coordinated with the clinic, and now the question is what to pack. You've been on many trips before, but this is the first one that is medically related and may have some very unique things that you'd like to have with you. Well, I've taken 3 trips before for IVF, which included egg retrieval and an embryo transfer. So I have a sense for what surprised me that I actually needed, what was amazing and totally worth the extra effort of packing. And I want to share that with you. So in this video, I'll go over the top 5 things I was glad I had during my IVF trips abroad. But while this video is playing, go down to the description and grab the full PDF packing list that I made. So you have everything that I brought with me. And I think you'll find that no matter where you're going, this will spark inspiration for you. And I want to hear about it too. There's things that I did not think of until I was there. And even on my second trip, new things came up for the embryo transfer. So I got you covered. So let me know what you think of that. And so with these 5 items, I'm going to explain the why behind them. So you'll have an example of something I bought and then how it was helpful, and maybe that'll work for you. So when I am traveling, my first criteria when I'm making a list is always what will make me feel safe, comfortable, and presentable. Presentable because, just looking good is also part of feeling good. You might relate. On top of that, there are things that just were very IVF process specific. They were needed because part of my trip was alone and part of it was with my husband. So there were times where there were just different things that I could really use for that comfort when away from home. Plus, an IVF trip is a lot different because you don't have the distractions that you usually have at home. So sometimes that's a benefit to have something local, but you cannot beat the price of traveling for IVF in most cases. And that's why you're doing this. So, yes, it is like a vacation and you get a reprieve and you can enjoy some things, but it also makes you hyper focus on the fact that you're going through IVF. And I found it was like an IVF immersion instead of a Mexico immersion. But again, it's up to you to make the trip what you need it to be. But let me get into these 5 things. Okay, so the first item that I was super glad that I packed for my IVF trip abroad was a medication cooler. And I'm talking one of these zip up coolers with ice packs that fit into sleeves and allow you to put the sharps and the refrigerated medication that you need for this trip. You can buy it based on how long you need it to keep cool. Of course, it's going to increase in size for that. So the one I had for the trip that I needed to take was about 7 hours total. So that's a pretty short trip. I wish, however, that I got the one that was to last 11 to 12 hours. And I'm sure you can guess why, because traveling is unpredictable. And you don't know how long you're going to be at an airport because of whatever reason. So in my case, I went through something, so I hope you don't have to, but mine was with TSA. Now, they weren't giving me trouble because of the sharps or the medication. Like, you can totally nip that in the bud, have a doctor's note with you. You can absolutely travel with sharps. There are usually places in the airports to dispose of them. So live your life, travel with your medication, but make sure it's cold long enough. So in this case, the TSA agent saw my little case and just, he couldn't x-ray it clearly enough, so he wanted to look inside. And I was just making him think I was super suspicious because I was like, oh, please, listen, like, way too much information. This is my last egg retrieval, and I really, please don't open it. And the more I said, don't open it, the more he brought more people over, brought me into a special room and was like, okay, we just need to open it for a second, just a quick look. And I'm like, I get that, but you're going to let the cold air out. I have it timed exactly for when I get to near a fridge at my destination. So, oh my God, if I had just had the peace of mind over an 11 to 12 hour functioning one, I mean, this would have just worked fine, you know. For longer trips, there are ones that you can carry as a carry-on and you'll be great. Also could have solved it by asking the airline flight attendant for some ice in a plastic bag or something to throw in there. But anyway, it was really cool. It let me travel for work. It let me be out with friends and have my little cooler with me, so I could be really discreet about it too. It wasn't a big deal. The number two thing that I was super glad I had during my IVF trip abroad: loose waisted clothing. Yes, that's right. Things that will expand as you expand, because egg retrieval is just, it's pumping your follicles up, it's pumping you up. So, really glad that I had that. I'll tell you, my bras stopped fitting, my bathing suits for the beach stopped fitting. So, if you've got those bras that are for when you have your period, bring the bigger ones. And sundresses for beach destination were my friend in this case. You want to be comfortable. You don't want to have restriction on your belly. Number one, for just getting bigger for that temporary period of time. And number two, for the injections that you're putting all along your lower belly. And complicate that by maybe foods that you're eating. So that brings me into number three. The number three thing that I was really glad I brought on my IVF trip abroad was nourishing foods. Now, I have the contrast between my first egg retrieval in Mexico, where I ate street food, I ate at restaurants. I was loving it. Like, emotionally, that made me happy for the first 3 days. But as things went along and I began to get bigger and the medications got a little more complex, I was having some serious GI distress, and eating became no longer fun. Like, this roller coaster of amazing greasy food, just no. If you can find balance, great. My way of doing this: I packed a super nourishing meal for the plane. So just, a little Tupperware container that I was able to eat instead of going for the airport food, which is just a little tempting to have some like things that I wouldn't usually have, a little greasier. And then bars, herbs and spices to encourage me to cook like I like to. So, second trip, I cooked for myself, which was a really nice creative outlet during this trip. And I ended up having such a smoother experience with my egg retrieval in terms of less pain, less nausea. Nausea can really ruin a good time. And I had beautiful meals prepared for myself when I was there alone, and when I also had a companion there. The fourth thing that I was super glad I had on my IVF trip abroad was a heating pad. Yes, absolutely. Not for the embryo transfer, but for the egg retrievals. Before, during, and after, that heating pad was a friend of mine. And it's super thin, it's electric, it plugs in, which means you do have to get ready to show that to TSA in most cases, but very packable and also just comforting. Like, it could be on my back when I wanted it, or my neck, or my shoulders when I'm watching Netflix. And I just can't, when you get so big and you can't exercise and you're all restricted to just, oops, watching movies in bed. So, me, my heating pad, and my snacks had a great time. Okay, the fifth thing that I was really glad that I had on my IVF trip abroad was a pill organizer. This thing kept me from having to pack different bottles of pills or little plastic baggies of pills and getting confused what they are, because you got your prenatals, possibly your endless amounts of estrogen pills, if not patches, and supplements that you might already take, other IVF medications. So I loved this pill box because it was pretty small. It could tip sideways and pack, right into my backpack, and nothing would spill, nothing would shift compartments. It was cheap, and it comes with these labels. So as your medication regimen changes, you can just paste over a sticker of the next label, and just, especially you move into your transfer time, you have different pills to keep track of. So, really glad that I had that. Okay, so again, packing list in full is in the YouTube description below. You're welcome to it. Love to talk about it. Also interested in talking to anyone who's going through this. If you are about to travel abroad for IVF, I'm available. We can talk. Take a look at the packing list, see what works for you. Especially if you're going to go to Mexico, I'm really happy to talk about that specifically, because it's been my experience. So, all right, have a wonderful trip.